What's going on, everybody? So now that the football season is here, I can officially say that we will now have Browns After Dark Sunday night, Monday night, and if that is not enough for you, we got another one on Thursday. So if you've ever said to yourself, hey, I wonder where I can meet with people and talk about the Browns, that is the place for you. Check us out at Browns After Dark on Twitter. The link will be in the description down below. Times will also be posted on that Twitter page, so be sure to give us a follow, turn on your notifications, and come let us know what you think. We want to know your thoughts, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. What's going on, everybody? So normally, if you are a viewer of this here channel, and I don't know why you are, but hey, if you are, welcome back. We're here to talk about something a little bit different. Normally, me and Tristan talk about the Browns strictly, and we're gonna do that. This is a little bit of a separate thing, but we had an interesting discussion on the last podcast, and that was about the 2023 quarterback draft class for the NFL. And we had a little bit of a debate. I was not able to cut it out and make it its own separate video. So, since some things have changed, and that was Georgia beating Tennessee, and Ohio State struggled greatly against Northwestern in a hurricane. So, I mean, some things have changed in college football. We decided to do kind of a little bit of a separate thing here, and we're going to talk about these quarterbacks for this draft again. And also, as you can see over my little box that I'm in, the Heisman Trophy, because odds are one of these two men behind us will win the Heisman Trophy. So we can, predict that at this point. But Tristan, what's going on? What do you want to get into here with these quarterbacks?
Yeah, for me, there's four guys who I wanted to talk about today. Four quarterbacks, and I want to rank them. I want to go for myself personally. I want to go 4-1,
Okay.
and I'm gonna have a very hot take here, and I am ready for it. I am so ready for this conversation. I only really had watched and paid attention to C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. I decided, you know what? Let me go back. Let me look at the rest of the quarterbacks that I feel like could make an impact in this year's draft. I'll say right now, who's not going to be my top four? Anthony Richardson out of Florida. I'm sorry, he is not a good thrower of the football. He's just
Agreed.
not. I could see a team, maybe even oddly enough, a team like the Browns taking him like in like the fifth or sixth round, just being like a guy that you could see in like a specific wildcat formation or something crazy. Like, I think he's going to be a utility guy. He's just not a good thrower of the football. So I want to let everybody know right now, Anthony Richardson is not in my list of four quarterbacks. So that I want to talk about. But with that being said, Derek, the fourth ranked quarterback that I have for this year's draft is going to be Hendon Hooker. Reason why is, for me, Hendon Hooker, I view him as all around being solid. I don't necessarily see him being a guy that can grow and evolve and develop in the NFL. I think what we're seeing right now is the best of him. For me, I think no matter what, in my opinion, I think he'll be a great backup quarterback in the league. He could be a good starter for somebody. It's just, for me, I look at the potential of some of these other guys in the draft class, and I say, you know what, I got to put him four. If we're basing it off of his actual performance, yeah, he's one of the top guys, but I have to look at growth.
I think we might get into a pretty big argument here in a second.
Yeah.
If I hear a name called that I think is going to be called ahead of Hendon Hooker, we're going to have some problems here.
Oh, you're going to hear one. Don't worry. Number 3 for me is Bryce Young. Bryce Young, for me, I look at his tape and I can't help but see a guy who has nothing but a clear pocket, has nothing but wide open wide receivers to throw to. And for me, it's really hard to evaluate him because, how do I know what he looks like under pressure? Well, we saw it against Georgia. We've seen it against really good defenses that are able to get some form of pressure on him. He is not a great thrower of the football with pressure. Oftentimes when I see, and when I'm timing myself, when I'm timing him in the pocket, he has 3-4 seconds of not even a hand in his face. And then all of his lowlights are whenever somebody can get there. So for me, I don't view Bryce Young as a quarterback that is, number one, accurate enough, doesn't have the arm strength that I would personally like. He has a lot of athleticism, and that's where I feel like he could kill me, is if he goes to somebody who can use his athleticism, almost like how Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson, and then over time he develops the arm. But for me, I just don't. I don't think he processes the game fast enough. I just don't. Um, Derek, what are your thoughts on my two quarterbacks that I've ranked so far?
Oh, I understand the argument for Hendon Hooker, and I actually agree with you. I do think that what we are seeing now is the best of him, and I actually don't believe there is a ton of room for improvement. But I think maybe where I'm going to disagree with you on is I think I just view him a little bit higher. I don't know how much of him you've seen. Obviously, this Georgia game was terrible for him.
Yeah,
Um,
I,
I was very disappointed as a big Hendon Hooker fan, as a Hooker fan. Pause. I was very frustrated, and I wanted to see him come out and shut everybody up about, hey, this is a one hit wonder type deal, kind of like what Joe Burrow did in that 2020 season, 29, whatever, when
yeah.
LSU won the national title, everybody was like, "Oh, we'll just wait till they play a tough defense." Well, guess what? He stepped up and showed out. I was wanting Hooker to do that, and he just didn't, and it was very rough.
Well, yeah, and that for me was part of it with the evaluation for sure, is because I want to see a quarterback be able to drag his team to success, and that is also part of my ranking. I view personally that with Hendon Hooker, I don't know in the NFL he's going to be able to drag his team to success. That's my big question mark for him. I really wanted to see him do well against Georgia. I really did, but it just wasn't there. But it's not solely off of this. I watched some other tape. I made my baseline Florida, because Florida is a team where I feel like they're an average, like they're definitely a top 20 school. They've got an okay defense. Let me see. And not only that, but most of these quarterbacks had played against Florida. So it gives me something to compare to from guy to guy. So that was the games that I dissected the most, just because it was easy to compare game to game. But I also did get into other games for each of these quarterbacks as well. But with that being said, let's get into my top two. And for me, this one was very tough. It was extremely tough.
I swear to God, if go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna lead with my number one. my number one quarterback in this year's draft class is Will Levis.
You son of a bitch! I knew you were gonna do that. I knew every single quarterback in this class, and you picked the worst fucking quarterback in the class.
Oh, do not hit me with that.
Oh,
no,
come on.
Will Levis, no, hear me out. And I'm going to start my conversation out with this because it's so relevant. Will Levis may be playing in front of the worst right tackle in all of college football. His right tackle is like, welcome to Walmart. Like, let him walk right past you. Like, he's that bad. He's that bad. Like, he's so bad.
Welcome to Walmart. Come sack my quarterback.
Like if it's a blitz off of that right, if it's a blitz coming on at that right tackle, it's gonna go down. We are Marshall,
That plane's go. Oh, I can't say that.
Yeah, but anyways,
I was gonna make a joke that was going to get me in big trouble.
Okay,
you can
so,
figure it out.
But here's why Will Levis is my number one quarterback. I'll give you all the reasons why. I feel as though right now in this year's draft, not only does Will Levis have, in my opinion, the best arm right now, I think his ability to process the game and persevere through the talent that he has around him is better than anything that we are seeing from any of these other top quarterbacks. I mean, with CJ Stroud, he's got elite wide receivers, the best in the country, right? With Bryce Young, he's got the best coach in college history. He's got the best running game in the country. He's got elite wide receivers. Like, he's got everything in front of him. For me, I see more consistency out of Will Levis with his throwing, and not only that, but his technique, the way he throws the ball, his footwork is fantastic. He is really good. He's really, really good at throwing into small windows when they're there, when they're available. Not only that, but I also love his athleticism. I think his athleticism with his frame is super, super unique. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near. I wouldn't say it's near Josh Allen level, but like it's like in the neighborhood. It's in the neighborhood, in my opinion. It's really impressive. And man, I don't think Kentucky would be anywhere near as good as far as record wise of a football team if it wasn't for the fact that Will Levis is their quarterback. I really strongly believe he has the best arm, and I feel like he is persevering through so much right now, just in college, that when he makes that transition to the NFL level, he's going to have better guys around him and guys that aren't straight up liabilities like his right tackle. I mean, I'm not even kidding you, Derek. Please turn on the film. Look at his right tackle. He is garbage. Like, it's bad. It's bad. But with that being said, I just think he's doing the most to get the most out of the team around him. His technique is fantastic. I love his arm strength. I love his accuracy. I love his mobility. And for me, I just think he's got everything that you want in a franchise guy. And I think he's going to make the transition into the NFL better. But with that being said, let me get into number 2 really quickly, because a lot of people are probably going to be upset I did not put CJ Stroud number 1. And this was really tough for me because I do feel like when we're talking about potential, I think CJ Stroud miles ahead as far as potential goes. I think CJ Stroud has the best potential of all the quarterbacks in the draft. My question is, how big of a learning curve is it going to be for CJ Stroud getting into the NFL and not playing with this elite talent around him? Because for me, I it sucks to use the argument because of the talent around him, he won't be good in the NFL. I'm not saying that. It's just, if he goes to a team that isn't the Colts, right, that needs a quarterback, like let's say, geez, what teams need a quarterback right now? I'm thinking off the top of my head. Like the Falcons, for example. If he goes to the Falcons,
Commanders, Colts.
Yeah. So for me, if he goes to a team like the Falcons, right, I don't know as though the talent in the Falcons organization and the talent that he'd be surrounded by would be the best place to nurture his development. I think it would be kind of like a Sam Darnold situation, where Sam Darnold, as a raw prospect, looked great, but he wasn't able to be in an environment that nurtured his talent and helped him learn. And for me, I look at CJ Stroud as more of a raw prospect than Will Levis is. And I think that early days, he won't be able to lean on the things that he was used to in college for success as much as Will Levis will. I think the transition in the NFL for Will Levis is going to be a lot better. And the other thing is, he's just too inconsistent. So it scares me that if he goes to the wrong place, that, like, let me say this right now, if he goes to Indianapolis, I mean, he's going to make me look dumb, because Indianapolis, they've got the great O-line, they've got the great run game, they've got weapons around, they've got like Michael Pittman Jr. there. There's enough there for him to succeed and be able to grow. But I can't say with full confidence I think CJ Stroud is going to develop into an elite player when I personally feel like there's a lot that needs to grow out of him. So, Derek, hit me. What do you think?
Okay, so first things first, I wholeheartedly disagree with Levis at 1. I think that is, criminal to these other guys personally. And I'll be honest with you, if I'll start at 4 and I'll work my way up. I was debating on moving Levis outside of my top 4, um, for a guy like a Grayson McCall, Tanner McKee out of Stanford. There's a couple of other guys who could fight their way up into it. If Anthony Richardson knew how to throw a football, he would be very,
Oh
very
yeah,
good. Oh my gosh, he'd
yeah,
be very good. But it's kind of maybe not a Lamar situation, but it's one of these guys that you bring him on your team and you say, all right, 3 years, work with him, see if he can do anything. Like a team like the Bucks, Brady literally got divorced to play football, so he's not going to retire within the next 2 years. I would guess. I would guess he's got another 3 left in him. Obviously the Bucks aren't great right now, but Brady, he made his choice, so it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, maybe a team like that, you take a shot at an Anthony Richardson, you bring him in the room with Brady, try to teach him how to play football. I don't know. But I'll go with Levis at 4 out of respect, I guess. Listen, my thing with Will Levis is he's got a lot of talent. He's got the arm strength. He's got his accuracy is all right. It's not as good as I personally would like. I don't feel great about it. But to your point, what he's playing with and what he has around him is not great. But at the same time, I've seen him fold under pressure. I've seen him go against Tennessee and throw 4 picks. So I don't feel great about him. But like we said the last time we talked about this, I was the biggest Josh Allen hater of all time. I don't think Levis is Josh Allen, but he does have some similarities that make me go, okay, maybe he can work out. But guess what? Josh Allen sucked his first year in the NFL. He wasn't great his second year. It took time. Levis, I believe, if he's going to be successful, it is going to be a 3-year plus project to get him to that point, which is fine. Which is fine, but that's why I have him where I have him this low at 4. 3, I'm gonna have Bryce Young still. Bryce Young is an undersized. Um, he's like you said, he's very athletic. He's clutch. He has a lot of clutch moments, so he can handle the big stage. But he has struggled greatly without the receiver help, this year at Alabama. And I really wonder at the NFL level what level of success he can have. I said it on the last time we talked about this. I think he's Tua. He's very similar to Tua in my opinion, but less talented. Um, so what does that get you? I think if you put him on a really good team, he could be good, but I just don't know what his ceiling is my only thing. So what do you think about my 3 and down? I'll go with that.
Disrespectful to Will Levis, of course. No,
Oh
I
man.
knew you didn't like Will Levis, but um, it's just for me, man. I really, really want you to at least in my opinion, I want you to kind of grade him on a curve. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I truly believe that this Kentucky team might only have 2 wins if it isn't for him. They are that bad around him. And I feel like he does a great job of when he's reading defenses. He does a good job of quickly reading man or zone. When it is zone, he's throwing to the right guy. In between the zones, he's sitting in between the zones. He's able to high point the balls and put them exactly where they're supposed to be. So that way, he does a great job of throwing it where only his receiver can get it. I understand it being concerned because of that Tennessee game. And absolutely, it's there's a lot of red flags there, but I truly believe that was just a matter of Tennessee. The talent that they have is so far above Kentucky that it was impossible. No matter what Will Levis did that game, he just wasn't going to succeed.
I should
Uh,
I should say this. my reasoning for my opinion for Will Levis is also because I've watched a lot of Kentucky this year. Maybe not the entire games, but I mean, Tristan at work will have
Hmm.
the college games on,
Hmm.
and I think I've seen 3 or 4 Kentucky games this year, and every single one that I've watched, I've just left thinking, I cannot believe this guy's regarded as a top quarterback. So I don't know if that's just me and I just catch him at the wrong time because I've seen his highlights as well and everything like that.
Hmm.
But I like to judge based on what I see in a full game. And that's why
Hmm.
I'm judging, grading. I think I try to merge those words. That's
Hmm.
why I'm going to judge Hendon Hooker as hard as I am based on that Georgia game. So,
Yeah, yeah, and for me, I'll say this: the game that really pushed it over the top for me for Will Levis was that Florida game. Like I said, a lot of these guys played Florida. I went back and I watched every single throw that he made against Florida. I don't know as though he could have possibly gotten any more than he did. And then I look at Hendon Hooker's highlights against Florida, and I look and I say, should have made this play, should have made this play, should have made this play. There's a few things I point out. And that's why I thought Florida was a good baseline because you know that they're a top 20 team. Um, and all of these guys pretty much have played Florida for the most part. But all the ones I wanted to do deep valuation of did. Um, so yeah, for me, yeah. But as far as Bryce Young goes, yeah, I can't agree more. For me, he could be a guy that ends up being the number one guy in this class. But it's just there's so much work to do. There's so much work to do, and there's so much unknown. How do I know? How do I know that Bryce Young's going to make correct decisions under pressure? When he's under pressure, it's when guys are getting to him in under 4 seconds, like with like 3.5 seconds.
let me ask
At
you
the
this.
NFL level. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Every quarterback that's ever been taken number 1 overall, including Baker Mayfield, by the way,
Hmm.
you can absolutely point to at least one thing that they do great.
Hmm.
What is that for Bryce Young? Because
His
I don't
athleticism.
know.
His
I
athleticism.
I don't
I
even
think
think that because he's not Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, yes, athletic. That's a guy you take because he's an athlete. I don't see that with Bryce Young at all. Like, yeah, he's an athlete, but not that level.
and I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from there. The big thing for me is I think with the Nick Saban offense, he doesn't, in my opinion, um, compared to like with what Lamar Jackson was doing at Louisville, he doesn't use his quarterback necessarily in that way. And not only that, but I personally feel like with the Alabama offense, it's a lot of focus on the running game and short passing game. So I feel like it limits the opportunities that we have to see Bryce Young in those moments with show off his athleticism. Um, but like in goal line scenarios, I don't think he's great. I think in the red zone, he's got his weaknesses. Um, so yeah, I completely agree with putting him at 3 for sure. But shameful disrespect to Will Levis. So
Oh well. I mean, listen, here I hate to do this, but I know this is what's going to happen because it happens every year. Levis, it's either going to be Levis or it's going to be one of these other guys are just going to have a crazy throw at a pro day and they're just going to skyrocket. And
no,
it's just going
I'm
to be like
honestly like I don't care about pro days. Sam Darnold's pro day taught me everything I need to know about pro days.
Johnny
Oh,
Manziel's pro day, Sam
you
Darnold.
he sat in the pocket and threw a great ball in the rain, and it was just perfect spiral in the rain. And it was a big deal that it was about the rain, and he was like seeing absolute ghosts against the Patriots. Like there's no correlation to how he's going to play in the football field at pro day. None.
Yeah. So again, let's see, what was it? Levis. What was
You
my
had
rank?
Levis and Bryce Young. You had
Okay, yeah. Levis, Bryce Young. I forgot. I thought we were doing 5. That's why I'm like, who's the other one? Um, But getting into the top two, I don't want to do this, but I feel there is a change that needs to be had for a couple reasons. Last time we talked about this, I had Hendon Hooker number 1, CJ Stroud number 2. My complaints with CJ Stroud were what, Tristan? I said his lack of mobility will hurt him greatly, especially when you have somebody who's athletic and moves around as well as Hendon Hooker. Well, to be fair, disclaimer, I did not get to sit and watch every second of the Northwestern game, but I, again, at work, watched some of it. CJ Stroud had to run. Finally, he grew a pair and ran the football. And it was all right. It was not terrible. To me, he showed enough athleticism that although he doesn't do that regularly, as an NFL GM, I personally would see that despite the offensive struggles and the lack of run game that we had. Again, wind, rain, just terrible conditions. To see CJ Stroud take the football, recognize when he needs to run, and actually running, to me, that was a major plus. Major plus. Because again, what did I say the last time? It's arm strength, accuracy, and mobility. Those are the three things the NFL looks for. So for that reason, for now, I'm going to move Stroud back up into number 1. I'm going to move Hooker down to 2 because here's the thing. CJ Stroud so far this year has been perfect from the standpoint of who we've played. And we haven't played anybody great. But he has executed when what?
The slight dig at Notre Dame.
So, yeah.
Sorry, Tony.
Hey, you know what? Thank God Notre Dame exposed Clemson. Clemson sucks. They're horrible, and they've been.
I could not believe they were in top 4 over TCU. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, I know, and it's like they have no business being there. Notre Dame sucks, and they destroyed Clemson. That's I don't know.
I still believe that Tennessee's going to end up sneaking in over TCU because I think TCU's bound to get a loss soon. I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not sold on TCU yet. If they can get past, I believe they're playing Texas Tech they're playing Texas. Actually, this week they beat Texas Tech last week, so that'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be the playoffs are going to be really weird because it's going to be Georgia, Ohio State, or Georgia, Michigan. Well, even honestly, the loser of that game, I was going to say, I think the loser of that game still might get in. The way Michigan's playing,
I think it has to be at this point, unless if it's like, let me say this: if Michigan beats Ohio State, I think both get in. I think if Alabama stays as a 2-win team, I think the committee finds a way to get Alabama in over Michigan.
No shot. No
way. I don't, at the season's end, if Michigan has 2 L's and, any other team has 2 L's, even if TCU has 1 L, I think they'll find a way to sneak Alabama in. I just think I think it's written in the stars. That's just how.
Well, I don't see how it's possible. I don't see how it's possible for this reason. Georgia's going to play Tennessee in a rematch in the SEC title game. Yeah. So if Tennessee, regardless, if Georgia beats Tennessee again, how can you logistically sit here and say we're going to put Alabama in over Tennessee because they have 2 losses? Well, guess what, Alabama? You have 2 losses and you lost to Tennessee. So you see, my point is I think Tennessee and Georgia are locks. Either one of Ohio State or Michigan is going to be a lock. I mean, unless Michigan somehow blows 2 games and then beats Ohio, there's no way either Ohio State or Michigan is not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I can back that. I can back that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a horrible weekend for me. Absolutely horrible, because I'm going to be probably borderline dead from Black Friday and the psychopaths in Columbus, Ohio, who are probably going to want to fight me because, oh, we don't have a jersey you want. Cry about it. That's going to be terrible. And then the very next day, we're Ohio State, Michigan here in Columbus. And that's going to be terrible for me. So not even because of the game, just because of all the idiots who decide that's the one day of the year they want to go buy Ohio State stuff. So that'll be what I deal with. I don't even remember what the point of that is, but anyway, getting back to
Or
this
ranking.
these top two. I'm putting Stroud at 1 because Hendon Hooker showed me that he is not. I don't want to say he's fool's gold because I don't believe that, because I've seen enough of him to know that he can be great, but he did not play great against great defensive talent. That's very, very concerning to me. Whereas I've seen CJ Stroud step up, especially like let's look at the Rose Bowl last year. Look at what CJ did in the Rose Bowl last year. You're down against Utah, and it was just an offensive firepower from CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and the Jigba. Like Joel Klatt talks about this all the time. And by the way, there is not a single soul on the face of the earth that I will endorse more than Joel Klatt when it comes to college football. And I mean that if he talks bad about Ohio State, if he talks great about Ohio State. Joel Klatt knows what he is talking about because he says Michigan, and this is the thing with the Ohio State Michigan game. Michigan's floor is higher than Ohio State's floor right now. That is what we have seen so far. But Ohio State has shown consistently that they can, like that, snap into the 6th and 7th gear. And again, this is not me saying this. This is what Joel Klatt said. But he's 100% right. When you can be trailing Penn State on the road and then within 2 minutes be up by like 3 touchdowns, yeah, that's next level. That is next level. When you can be trailing Utah last year in the Rose Bowl in a game that they didn't even really care about, and then all of a sudden you come back and you just dominate through the air and you win that football game. That's what makes CJ so great to me, is when he steps up, and we talked about this the last time, Tristan, the inconsistencies and getting him in rhythm. When he is on, there is not a single quarterback better because he puts that ball in windows that nobody can put him in. He throws with anticipation. Again, I'm going to repeat it just because this is going to be a separate video. CJ Stroud does what I've seen no other Ohio State quarterback do, and that is throw guys open. He's got the great receivers to make the great catches, but he puts the ball where only they can catch it, and he throws them open. Though that's two things that you cannot say about Justin Fields, Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, God rest his soul, Dwayne Haskins. Like you just can't say that about the other Ohio State quarterbacks. That's why I think he's different.